when I was in college, I was studying theology, going to daily mass, daily holy hour, became a missionary in Central America. I don't know if I shared this with you, but and I like hated the Catholic Church. I was a Catholic missionary.
Oh wow!
And
why did you hate the? I mean, I hate the Catholic Church too, but I also love the Catholic Church. So.
And I would say it's because it's a couple of reasons. One is because.
So you're a Catholic. As a Catholic missionary, what did you hate about? When I say I hate the Catholic Church, what I mean is I'm pretty sure it's one of, if not the most corrupt institutions on the planet, and I see it failing everywhere. And that's okay with me. Actually, I have received a great deal of peace from realizing, to quote Peter Kwasniewski, that the ship that has sailed across the oceans of time is not this glowing orb with the epitome of, Christian men and women.
Yeah.
No, the ship is sinking. There are holes in the side. The mast is broken. The sailors are drunk. But it's the only one that'll reach the port.
Yeah.
So it's here or you die in the ocean.
Yeah.
That's what I meant by that.
Yeah,
I love,
sense.
of course, I love our holy church.
No, I would say this. I would say.
But what was it about it for you?
I had some questions about the hot button issues, the areas where, as Catholics, we took a stand and other Christians didn't. And I'm like, well, why? And so questions like contraception. I don't know why that became an issue for me in college, because I wasn't contracepting and didn't have any need to, but it seemed like such a silly thing, a silly teaching.
To get kind of hung up on? Is that the idea?
Just like, why is this? And when I would ask, I wouldn't get a good answer. I remember an answer was, it goes back to this Augustinian framework where the body is bad and sex is bad, and kind of what it came down to is, don't worry, the church will change. And, I was like, well, yeah, I'm this theology major, so I'm so smart. So I can blame people who didn't necessarily give me the answer that I was looking for. I also have to take responsibility for my own pride and my own, no one's convinced me yet, so, I can have a hard heart and a hard mind. But that was it. That kind of started it. It was like sexual ethics type stuff. At the same time, I wholeheartedly believe the Eucharist. I absolutely know abortion is wrong. And so it was like, why contraception? Again, it just seemed like I'd asked the question, did not get a good answer, and then was kind of in this place where you just have to be really skeptical of the church, the Catholic Church. Because it's embarrassing. We have these stands on certain things. And again, I can blame the externals all I want. Ultimately, it's come down to me. The point being this, I could tell you the story of coming back to the church.
Was this in the mid to late 90s? And
Yeah.
This is interesting for people who might be much younger, not realizing that at the click of a button, you could see what the church taught and why.
Totally, yeah.
There was Jason and Christina Everett and Dr. Janet Smith and Dr. Scott Hahn.
Yeah.
So what resources, did you look into resources, or were resources not available except for those people in your life?
That's a good question, because that's why I can blame myself. Were there resources available that I didn't either know of or didn't really pursue? I think that there's a quickness I could have to being stubborn and being like, well, I didn't see anything. Well, that didn't make any sense. And so I'm out, And so, again, I have to blame my own pride, my own lack of diligence. So I can't just point to certain professors or priests or nuns who didn't give the direction I was looking for. I'll tell you the story coming back around, but to pause on that for a second, and I realize that ultimately wasn't the end of my story. I remember I would be in these classes, theology classes, with deacon candidates from the diocese in which I was going to school, and these were I look back and I'm so embarrassed. These are really good men, men who they're raising their family. They're taking a night class. They haven't. It's a 3-year whatever it is program, and I've been taking theology. I'm 21. I've been studying this for day in and day out, and just mocking and having arguments with them in class, and they're just like, no, I'm just trying to be faithful to the church. I'm not, here I am going, faithful to the church, that's stupid, kind of thing. And so because of what a jerk I know I have been, when I talk to someone like that young woman or talk to any of our students, I realize, oh, no. I genuinely mean it, not even in this kind of I'm a humble person, but I don't know if I've ever met anyone worse than me. in some ways. I mean, some ways I'm fine. In some ways I'm really great, I'm better than you. But when it comes to some of those areas, I'm like, no, if you would have replayed a conversation from class usually it was kind of like I had fun kind of with that academic sparring. But at what cost, I mean, I actually even in seminary, even though I came back to the church and internally as well as externally, and I'm going on a tangent. I don't need to go. I don't need, unless you want me to keep going.
If you think it's worth it. I mean,
well, I just think there's an aspect where it's. I know that I have the potential on my evaluation after a year or two of being in major seminary. One of the things that came up was Mike is often caustic and abrasive in class.
That is interesting. You are not like that.
Right.
I don't see you like
that. I'm grateful for that because, and what it was I know which professor it was.
Yeah,
it was the one
stupid one.
It was the dumb one. No,
wouldn't
it was
agree with me.
The one who wasn't faithful to the church. So at this point, I'm like, oh, I'm in now. But the same jerkiness that was jerks to the guys who were faithful to the church when I was not came out when I am faithful and the other guy is not. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so just learn. I mean, I remember reading that and thinking, oh, I know who said that. Dr. So-and-so. But that doesn't give me the right to be caustic and abrasive.
Go and download Truthly. It's a platform bringing honest conversations and real answers to life's toughest questions. Well, I was talking to a therapist here recently, and I realized very quickly that he has a very different job to me, clearly. I mean, he's got to deal with hurting human beings. And I think it's way too easy to run a podcast and to run your mouth off and to sound all aggressive because the YouTube algorithm really respects that. Humility rarely goes viral. But what I love about what you're doing, Father, is that you're actually on campus with flesh and blood human beings. And my fear is that many of us who run podcasts don't interact with those things called human beings. And if we do, maybe we're not even having conversations about the faith with them because that's too awkward or too embarrassing. So we just jump on here and do it. And it's very different engaging with a human being with their history and their hang-ups. So I'm thrilled that I thank you for doing what you're doing and thank you for being so charitable to people. I mean, it's funny, right? Like what gives us the right to be so arrogant and to shame people and to judge them? First, because as you say, our own sins are countless. But two, we all acknowledge that culture is destroyed or at least broken in some significant way. People are growing up in broken families and they're dealing with heard of levels of anxiety. And we say, well, for good reason, look at what we've created. And then we turn around and we shame people or we blame them for asking questions or like this beautiful girl, God love her, who get upset with you, But yeah, it takes a lot more patience, doesn't it, to walk with people.
Yeah. It's
Slam dunking on people on Twitter, way more fun, looks really cool. But no.
It's messy.
Journeying with people.
Real relationships are messy. It's great to be able to look back and say, oh, I remember meeting with this guy and now look at him. He's doing great. He's married and he's moving forward or whatever. Met with this girl and she had a conversion. It's amazing, which is great. But then you look back and think, oh, that was that hard conversation. And this time where it was just like, we're really struggling and it's just messy. That's one of the reasons why you pointed it out just now. But when I talk to people who will say, hey, I teach religious ed on Wednesday nights or I teach at a Catholic school and we use your resources all the time. I think, okay, in that context, they're saying thank you. I'm like, you're the one doing the hard work.
Yeah.
Like I get to sit in a room and hit record, blah, 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 hit stop. You're the one who has to press play and then I do my thing and then someone says, I don't know what I think about this or I think that's horrible or whatever the thing is. But if you're walking with them, you're the one way harder. It's vastly harder. Yeah. But it's
way harder and you perceive it as less glory, right? You record a video and you're very excellent at it. You get tens of thousands of views and it's like, oh, that looks good. I just get to look at those numbers. I shouldn't put it on you, myself included, right? And then this poor fella is showing your video and then he's interacting with one person and no success may come of it at the way he sees it. And that feels a lot less glorious. But as you say, he's the one in the trenches compared to the YouTuber or the podcaster.
Well, I remember hearing, it wasn't Catholic, but it was a Christian who was working at a Christian seminary and said, one of my fears is that a lot of the people are here to be preachers, not pastors. Mm-hmm. And that notion of, I want to get back to the business of, just preaching, being on stage or in the sanctuary, I guess, wherever they have in their churches. And they used an example where they were going through this class of how to walk with people in a pastoral way. Had some kind of case studies. And one of the seminarians asked something along the lines of, so how do we fix this so that we can get back to the work of, being a pastor? And the teacher was like, no, this is the work of being a pastor. This is the work of all of these people. And it's just, I look at my brother priests, and just in my diocese too, and I think, man, I remember one guy came over. There was confession. He wanted to go to confession. So I'm like, yeah, come by. I had just gotten back from like a trip of, speaking and this and that. And I'm like, yep, I'm at the house. And so he swung by and went to confession. And he's like, okay, sorry, I have to run. I'm on my way to the hospital. There's, it wasn't urgent, but it was like, I have to go because there's someone who needs me to be there. This family needs me to, and so I just stopped by for 5 minutes. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, here I am, just, getting back from a trip, sitting in this house in my shorts. And here's this man who once again, and that's the thing, is like all these priests, once again, are getting up and going to the hospital. Once again, are getting up.
Priest who came to
sorry,
confession.
yes. Sorry, should have been clearer about that.
Okay.
Bad storyteller. But that sense of, I'm so moved by, that my brother priests in our diocese who they just keep loving, they're ordinary people loving ordinary people.
Thank you very much for watching that Pints with Aquinas clip. If you like it, do me a favor, click like and subscribe, and please offer a Hail Mary for the work of Pints with Aquinas and all the people we're trying to reach. God bless you.